Getting to know you, getting to know all about you.
We're here with Tech Sergeant Roger Connolly. He's our med tech on the art. He's been in the military for about 8 years now, where he spent the first 7 at his first duty station at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, where he held one of his favorite jobs of being a Phase 2 course supervisor. I was actually his chaplain there. Fun fact.
Thanks, chaplain.
I know. He often talks fondly of his chaplain. He grew up primarily in Germany with his parents and his brother and his 2 sisters, where he met his now wife, Siobhan, and they were married while he was in tech school, but it's not your typical tech school marriage. They have their Shepsky dog, Bitsy, who you may have seen here on campus. He is into gaming, traveling, photo and video editing. He gives me a lot of coaching when I'm trying to make these things. He enjoys watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy during Christmas time. He enjoys listening to stereotypical European music, Euro music, as you can imagine, growing up in Germany. He's on the home stretch actually of finishing up his IT degree, or his bachelor's in IT management, after which he plans on applying for OTS. One of his biggest regrets is not taking college serious enough the first go around. He was somewhat of a wild child, and he has many stories that he could tell you about that in the future. But one thing he does not regret is, and something that wouldn't necessarily come up in normal conversation, is that he's actually a cancer survivor. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, chaplain, thanks for the introduction. Appreciate it. It's awesome. So I was 17 years old, and the reason why I wanted to talk about it today is because recently when I was doing my flu line, I had a lot of folks asking me, "Hey, what's up with your tattoo on your wrist? What does that say?" And so I explained it to him, and I'm like, "Well, I had cancer when I was 17 because there's always a story behind every tattoo that you have." And so part of the story is, as a 17-year-old, I just finished this soccer tournament where I got kicked pretty hard in the groin. And shortly after that, I got sick. And my mom told me this really, really scary story about this 15-year-old who had testicular cancer. And he had, and it was a family friend of ours, actually, and their son had testicular cancer. So basically, the moral of the story was he had his testicles were basically the size of fists, and it freaked me out, and I was super scared. So I was at home that day after this soccer tournament, and I know this is kind of going in a weird direction, but basically I learned thereafter to do self-assessments, and so I did a self-assessment in the shower because I was at home sick, and I found a lump, and I was like, whoa, well, that's interesting. That wasn't there before. And I went to the doctor, and I was concerned. And they're like, "Oh, well, it could be this, it could be that. We're not concerned that it's cancer." And I was like, "Okay, cool, no problem." And that was about 2 weeks after I noticed the lump. And then I started getting pain, and I started getting really uncomfortable. And I went to the doctor again, and they're like, "Oh, okay, well, we think it could be this. Here's some antibiotics. Take it and go home." And I was like, "Okay." I was 17, so I didn't know any better. I was kind of just going with what the doctor was telling me. And then one night I was in excruciating pain, and it woke me up. Like it was so bad. Like even the sheets were bothering me. So my mom was gone for the entire summer, and it was just my dad and I. And my mom had just gotten back. And so I told my mom, I was like, "Mom, I couldn't sleep last night." And luckily I didn't go into kidney failure because I took like 1,200 or 1,400 milligrams of ibuprofen to make the pain go away. It was that bad. It was really bad.
Jeez.
Yeah. So went to the German doctor shortly after that, and I got an ultrasound. The doctor was like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, this is definitely a tumor." And the story I always tell is when I go up to the larger hospital to get my next ultrasound, because the first ultrasound I got that wasn't clear enough. The image wasn't clear enough, so I had to go to another hospital to get another ultrasound. And I met at the entrance by the chief urologist and his his understudies, basically. And they take me up to the urology ward, and I go into the room, and I have this very nice doctor begin the ultrasound. And as I'm sitting there and, I'm getting my ultrasound performed, a herd of medical students and residents, without my permission, come waltzing through the door, and I'm just kind of sitting there on the table, very uncomfortable, as this 17-year-old, mind you, and it's European medicine, so they're very open about this kind of stuff. So I was okay with it, but it was just, at the time as a 17-year-old, it was very shocking to see all these doctors walk in as I'm getting this ultrasound performed. And needless to say, I had a biopsy done a couple weeks later, and it did turn out that I had cancer. And I did 2 rounds of chemotherapy. So the start of my senior year of high school back in 2004 was in the hospital doing chemotherapy, having surgery, and getting back onto the road to recovery. And getting into the Air Force was no easy job either, because I had to wait for 5 years until I was cancer-free before I could even think about applying. And I had recruiters contacting me all the time, and I was just like, well, I can't, unfortunately, right now, because I'm still in my window of remission. And so after 5 years, I got into nursing school. So instead of going to the Air Force, I was going through nursing school instead. And things just didn't work out with nursing school, and I ended up enlisting in the Air Force shortly after that. So now I'm here and healthy and here to serve you guys and make sure to take care of all of you. So that's my story.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing. So you don't never know what a little tattoo could mean to somebody. Yeah, thanks for sharing. You all have a great day.
Getting to
Thanks, Chapel.
like you, getting to hope you like me.
Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it.
Getting to know
If you haven't already gathered, the whole point of these things is to hopefully get to know each other a little better. We want to make more of these, and if you're a willing participant and you would like to be a featured interviewee, please reach out to me. Take care.